business talk. As mentioned in a lot of news, tariffs has been the hot topic in recent weeks. And to better understand Trump's tariffs and what it means to Indonesia, the region and the world, we are joined by Strategy International Advocacy and Consultancy President Shaanti Shamdasani. Welcome, Ibu Shaanti, to the studio. So it's a very hot topic, but before we start, let's hear first what the Finance Minister of Indonesia, Sri Mulyani's remarks during yesterday's Economic Forum. Sure. Let's hear it.
Tarif resiprokal yang disampaikan oleh Amerika terhadap 60 negara menggambarkan cara penghitungan tarif tersebut yang saya rasa semua ekonom yang sudah belajar ekonomi tidak bisa memahami. Jadi ini juga sudah tidak berlagu lagi ilmu ekonomi. Yang penting pokoknya tarif duluan. Karena tujuannya adalah menutup defisit. Tidak ada ilmu ekonominya di situ. Menutup defisit itu artinya saya tidak ingin tergantung atau beli kepada orang lain lebih banyak dari apa yang saya bisa jual kepada orang lain.
Alright, so from the sound of it, even Ibu Sri Mulyani, she mentioned that this is not the economy that we have been learning of, but these tariffs are more into how the deficit of the trade between the U.S. and its trade partners can actually be more balanced. Let's say let's call it tariff imbalance. I don't know how to call it. So what's your take on this?
So first, thank you for having me here, and I'd just like to start off by saying that U.S. have suffered massive trade gaps for many, many years now. It has, if you observe, for the last 10 years, U.S. have been bringing up this topic on trade gaps on various meetings, whether one-on-one or high level. So this has been on their radar and this has been their concern. That's the first, right? I do agree with Ibu Sri Mulyani that there is no law or economics formula here which can actually justify the 32% that was given to us, right? But this is basically to close that gap. Right. And I think US is sending us a strong message. It's either you fill in the gap if you still want to do business with us, or you have to reduce your prices. I think that's just a loud message. US is saying basically either you reduce your prices if you want to enter into this country, or you find some other market.
All right.
That's the message I can see coming out from this.
Okay. Before we continue, though, I also want to listen to the President Prabowo's recent remark yesterday as well at the Economic Forum, saying that we need to easing import restrictions and a possible removal of the local content, or what we call here TKDN.
Sure.
Okay, let's hear it first of the statement.
Realistis, tolong dirubah itu TKDN dibikin yang realistis saja. Masalah kemampuan dalam negeri, konten dalam negeri itu adalah masalah luas, itu masalah pendidikan, iptek, ya kan, science. Jadi itu masalah nggak bisa kita dengan cara bikin regulasi iptek naik, TKDN naik. Saya sangat setuju.
Okay, so what do you think? Could this be a response to the U.S. concerns on our TKDN or the TKDN requirement that Indonesia have been trying to impose?
So local content or TKDN itself will not be enough. Because yes, this is part of the barrier. There are two types of trade tools here, non-tariff measures and non-tariff barriers, right? Or tariff barriers. I think Indonesia is sitting on massive regulations which, quote unquote, aren't actually helping the country. And we need to look into this. And I think President Prabowo is on the right track. He is looking at deregulation, and that's the first step. But that one step itself is not going to be enough. But that's the first step that needs to be taken, right?
So it is an essential step.
It is an essential step. But will this solve the problem? Not really. Because we have many others in line that we need to look into. We have been focused on tariff barriers for all, and all our discussion has been tariff barriers. I would also like to urge the government of Indonesia to look into the non-tariff barriers, which we have quite a lot as well in place. So if the team is going to the US for negotiation, I think it's important to look at the preferential tariff, the GSP. It's important to also leverage Indonesia's environment-friendly products, which we can export, and that deserves a lower tariff, actually, because it's environment-friendly. Yep. We need to bring that as well. And we need to also look into the non-tariff barriers. So let's not talk about the tariff, let's talk about the other non-tariff barriers, which I'm sure both countries have put in place. So these are the kinds of things, you can't just look at one thing and say, okay, we are going to solve this problem with just this one. No, you have to first take account, do a cost-benefit analysis of the total industry in Indonesia. Right. Indonesia's export to the US is only 13%. Actually not that big. I mean, we can do without. I mean, if people ask me, so how will Indonesia be after this? I say, we'll be fine.
Really? Oh, yeah. Okay. So what do you think? With this tariff, if we, let's say, we reacted as what the government is trying to do, do you think we will be on the right track?
Yes.
And we'll be okay?
We'll be fine, but that depends on how our business sectors actually deregulate themselves as well. So there are two types of, either one is the government-imposed regulations, and the other one is the business-imposed regulations, which not many people actually talked about. I'll give you an example. The business-imposed regulations are, especially in Indonesia, I see this quite evident, is that if you want to come and invest in my country, this is me, I'm a big businessman here, this is my friends, and you can use our name as one of the partners, give us some shares and give us a commission, right? Commission is a barrier because no business person wants to invest billions of dollars in the country and give commission to X, Y, Z just because they are a powerful person sitting in a powerful association managing the things. I would be scared. I'm putting my billions of dollars and these people are asking for commission from me.
Right, right.
Now that's not talked often. That's a barrier.
Indeed.
It's not a government barrier, it's a barrier that has been imposed by our local businesses to the outside investors, saying that you can come in, but I need 10% for me, for my friend, for my son, or whatever, right? So that needs to also look into it.
Okay, so not only the
we'll be fine, but we have to look into the other things.
So you've been saying that the local content or local component system that we have here, which we call TKDN, have been slowing down the foreign investments.
Absolutely. See, the local content was given by the government of Indonesia as a present to the local manufacturer.
Yeah, yeah.
So that they started opening more factories, from there will be employment. But 10 years have passed, how many local businessmen have actually opened a factory? Hardly, quite a few, maybe few, but not enough.
It hasn't been an effective
regulation.
But
when a foreigner wants to come in and they say, okay, there is this local content and I have to produce here, I'm like, okay, I'm not investing. I'll go to Vietnam. I'll go to Malaysia, which is what happened. We are actually shooting on our own foot for the last 10 years or so, and we are benefiting Vietnam and Malaysia and other countries.
Okay, not very unfortunately, but hopefully things will turn around.
Hopefully.
Because this is perhaps the tariff is a warning and it's a turning point as well for Indonesia.
Yeah.
Now let's enlighten us more, Ibu Shaanti. Indonesians perhaps won't feel the impact of the tariffs right away for the imported stuff that come into the country. But how will it impact Indonesian consumers and businesses directly or even indirectly?
So 65% or so of Indonesian businesses are run by SMEs. You have to first put that in place. We are a rich country. We have all the agricultural products, the minerals and all those things. So when I say we'll be fine, and because I know the dependency on import products, are not that many. I mean, the luxury products, I mean, like how many percent of Indonesian use iPhone? How many percent of Indonesian actually are heavily dependent on import products? Samsung or any other handphone, Android phone, everyone has it, but they don't change it every now and then, right? They can afford it, they can use that for many years, at least for 5 years, or even more. I mean, I use my Android for more than 5 years, right? So we already have what we need in terms of technology, in terms of access, in terms of internet. What the other thing that would be coming more to us is a plus,
Right.
a luxury.
A luxury.
For example, a handphone that you don't have to carry around, it's embedded in your body, for example. That's a luxury, right? So when I say we'll be fine, Indonesia will be fine in the sense that it can on its own satisfy the basic necessities.
Okay, but how do we understand the statement of President Prabowo Subianto saying that we eliminate the quota import, the importer quota?
Right. So the import quota is something that I think the president, first is imports today are being dominated by a handful of people. So there is few businessmen that enjoy the benefits of imports, right? So now Prabowo is saying, why only few people? Let all the business, the people in Indonesia start doing business. Good point, but I think he needed to clarify this because people sort of like understood that, okay, if import is open, then what will happen to the local businesses?
How can we protect?
How can we protect the local businesses, right?
Exactly.
I think what Prabowo meant is that when everybody can do import, you can actually do incremental innovation. And what India has been doing, right? And what many countries have started doing. You can either import the raw materials, where not just few business people can import, but now anybody can import the raw materials. And if you have quote unquote the raw materials, you can be as creative and as innovative as you want to be, which is now you are not able to do that, right? For example, even a middle class person can open a home industry now with the imported materials which they can import on their own and do a value added process to that and sell it back to the market. So when they say you can import anything, if you import only finished goods and you don't do the process here, you don't do any incremental value added process here, you're actually not helping the economy. I think what Prabowo meant is you can import so that you can actually use this opportunity to actually grow your business.
Right.
Yeah.
But let me just go back to the point where the impact to Indonesia, let's say this Trump tariffs. You mentioned that we have to, diminish or make it less as the price of the things that we export to the U.S. because of this tariff. So, are we going to see more layoffs, let's say, in our textiles footwear manufacturers,
now,
and others?
Yeah, so if I was a good business person, right? If my export to US, now I'm enjoying a profit of 20%, right? If I was a good business person, I would say, okay, I'll enjoy a profit of 10% now. I'll reduce my cost. At least I'm still making money. And at least I still have that market. That's scenario number one, right? Scenario number two is like, oh no, the prices have gone up. I'm not willing to reduce part with my profit. I'm going to close the factory. I'm going to fire people and let it go, right? Which I doubt will happen because I think a lot of business people, unless they find an alternate market or unless they find an alternate solution, they will try to hang on to the business which they have. Mind you, these people have spent years and years establishing this business. The electronics factory, the shoe factories, the garment factories, our rubber production. This didn't happen just in 1-2 years ago. This has been in the market for 30, 40 years maybe, right? will they easily close it down just because their profit has reduced? So again, I would call the Indonesian businesses to really relook at their profit system and their revenue and kind of like see what they can do. Yes, 32% is a big increase because, you know, if their profit is 10% and they have to pay 32% tax, then they're not making money.
Yeah.
Right? Then they're at loss. Then these are the factories that will have to close shop, or they will have to look at other market.
Right, right.
But it's looking at other market won't be that easy as well, because Indonesia shared the same commodities with Malaysia, Vietnam, Philippines, and they too are looking at other markets. Now there will be a price war in the region.
Right, okay. Now for Indonesia though, could this be a turning point, let's say, to trigger, you know, bigger trade partnership elsewhere, as you mentioned, maybe with ASEAN or even the BRICS? We have sort of like gone into partnership with BRICS countries.
So we are issuing a report on BRICS next month, but it is best for Indonesia for now to really look at the world as a market as a whole, without BRICS, without RCEP, without any other FTAs.
So let's not put it into blocks, just the globe.
Just the globe. Because if you put it into blocks, you will have to abide in the regulations that the blocks want you to apply. But if you just look at it as a whole, you may be able to be more agile and more flexible. For example, why can't Indonesia do a one-on-one business with Sri Lanka or Bangladesh? Like, okay, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh is the hub of textile. Okay, you move your factory here, produce some part of the things here, and then we will collaborate. So from multilateral to a bilateral agreement, I think we'll have to look into the country per country, because for the last 15, 20 years, we have been going, there's so many FTAs, international agreements, you know, this block and that block, and it doesn't seem to be helping that much.
Okay.
You know.
Do you think is there any other, you know, things that you could share from the Kamar Entrepreneur Indonesia, suggesting for improving, you know, U.S.-Indonesia trade, or maybe how to respond on this tariff so that we can, you know, we can stay okay with our trade?
So I'll be going to U.S. next month. We have an office there. So I'll be going there just to actually see, and I'll be traveling to different parts of U.S., Illinois, you know, L.A., Texas, and all those, just to really understand the sentiments there. Right. But from Kamar Entrepreneur Indonesia, we are still in the process, like everybody else, in the process of digesting what just happened. Because this has never happened in history before. Every country is still like, what? But nobody can tell you exactly.
Perhaps this is a new economic formula, I don't know.
Exactly. Nobody can tell you exactly how this is going to impact them or what needs to be done. So I will be in US in May, and then when I return, if you want another fill up, I'll provide you with that information. But then July, August, we will be conducting a research, a nationwide research from Kamar Entrepreneur Indonesia, to talk to the business people in the provincial, in the daerah, to ask them, how are you? How are things going on?
I see.
Do you feel any impact? Now it's too early
to tell.
Now it's too early to tell. You have to wait 3 months, 3 to 4 months, to really understand what's happening on the ground. Now you're listening, even before US announced the tariff, Indonesia have started laying off.
True that.
How can you relate the layoff that happened in Indonesia
With this tariff.
starting February all the way to March, and how can you actually connect that with the tariff? Because it's really hard, because Indonesia's already, the economy was already going down. I mean, before Trump announced this, our rupiah was 16,800, 16,500, right? After he announced it's 17,000 something. So yes, there was an impact, but how big of an impact is this? You know, I will be willing to work with the universities in Indonesia to do a thorough research on what is exactly our dependency, not just on US, but on the rest of the world, because I reckon it's not that big.
If this is to be the new order, global order, would there be a win-win outcome for this trade imbalance war?
I'm not sure of a win-win. So you have to be ready for every scenario now. If I was in the government today, I would make 10 scenarios. And I would make exit strategy on every scenarios I put there, because Indonesia needs to have a good exit strategy.
Okay.
I've not heard anyone talking about the exit strategy today. What if, just saying, if Indonesia goes to the US, started negotiating, and Trump raises the tariff even more?
Be ready for anything.
Anything, right?
Right.
So, have we accounted this scenario? I'm sure we have. I mean, we have smart government, smart people sitting in the government. I'm sure they have accounted. But let's talk about the exit strategy. And another thing which is really important for the government to do now is to really have a good communication plan in terms of informing the public every day on what they're doing, how is it impacting them, and where the economy is going. Because otherwise, this is like a wild ball. People can just throw it anywhere, right?
I think the president quite realizes that already.
He needs
so
to.
So hopefully it gets better day by day.
Exactly. So that's the thing, yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your information as well as enlightening us on the tariff that has been going on and has been the talk of the world, I guess. It was Shaanti Shamdasani of the Strategy International Advocacy and Consultancy President. Thank you very much for talking.
Thank you so much for having me here again.
You're welcome. And that was our conversation on Trump's tariff for today's Business Talk. In the meantime, you can stay connected with us on Instagram, X, and YouTube at CToday News. We are also available online at ctodaynews.com.